welcome to today's video. And in today's video, I'll be discussing why if Donald Trump or someone, or Donald Trump, I'm going to start off, were to form his own party and run, why it would be awful for Republicans, or just conservatives in general, or if he were to, start a party if he couldn't legally run, which there's a good chance he won't be able to legally run in 2020, but if he can't run, he starts his own party, maybe runs somebody like Ted Cruz, maybe Josh Hawley. I don't know. He might be a little bit too moderate, although he's like a moderate face of Trumpism. It's a little strange, but maybe Josh Hawley, something like that. And then the Republicans, let's just say Nikki Haley. I can't really think of any other major possibilities that wouldn't join the MAGA Tea Party, America First Party, whatever party it would be. Democrats, probably Kamala Harris. She's like the favorite right now, so we're just gonna say Kamala Harris. And I'm just gonna kind of go through this map based off of my initial thoughts. Obviously, it would be a lot better for Democrats as, like, if you look at this, the Republican vote in a lot of these states is split like 50-50. Or not 50-50. The vote in a lot of these states is split like 50-50. I think that Trump would still retain the majority of the Republican vote. Of that 50%, I think 30%, 40, no, I don't want to say 40%, but something around 30% of it would go to him. He has a pretty high approval rating in the GOP, but I don't necessarily. So, but the vote would definitely be split, and it would make a lot of states much more competitive. I think Minnesota would be safe, definitely. Same with Virginia. Michigan, Joe Biden won here by about like 2.8%, I think. So that's about 50-50. I think that Nikki Haley would probably come in second. I think she'd do better than Trump. But just because of the GOP vote being split, I think it's probably going to be a safe state. Same with Wisconsin, very similar. Pennsylvania, same thing. Arizona, it's the same thing as Wisconsin, and Nevada, similar to Michigan. They're all basically going to be safe. Other states, Hawaii, obviously going to be safe. Now, some states that might be more likely, Texas, it's close between being likely and safe. Donald Trump won here by about 5.5, I think it was, percent. He got like 52.5, 52.75 or whatever percent of the vote, something around there. Or if it was just Trump and Biden. There's obviously third parties, but for this, the majority of the third party vote would be going to Trump's party. I think that this would probably be likely or safe on the line. Because if you look at this, like, Trump won like 52% of that vote. I think that he would probably win like 30% of the other vote. So it would probably be more like it would be between being like, because it would be like on the line. It would be like Missouri for the Republicans. It would be like 17, 16, 15%. I think honestly, it'll probably still be likely. Honestly, though, with Kamala Harris as safe characterization would make sense. Especially if her running mate is Beto O'Rourke or Julian Castro, then it would definitely be safe. Other states, Georgia, probably likely. Very similar to Arizona. Actually, probably safe. It's like Arizona and Wisconsin. It's probably going to be a safe state. Other states, first off, let's go look at Maine second. Trump won here by about what Joe Biden won in New Hampshire and Minnesota by about 7%. He won about, like, if it was just Trump and Biden, like I said, the majority of the third party vote would be going to them anyways. Won about 53.5% of the vote, which means that Joe Biden won about 47.5 or 46.5% of the vote. That 53.5, I think, will probably be split. Nikki Haley, I feel like, would probably do better, just because the district isn't a historically Democratic or Republican district. It typically voted blue. Obama carried it. It was tighter margins, obviously. It was like likely margins, but it wasn't something that you're like, whoa, that was like a likely margin. You're just like, oh, it was a likely margin. I don't know. Something like Oregon, where it'd be like, oh, okay, went by a likely margin. I guess it was a little more competitive. Or like Illinois, but it's not, or like New Jersey was. It's not something that was like that much of a shock, or it's just like, or it was a bit of a shock, but it wasn't like, whoa, this is gonna be competitive. But then Trump like flipped it. I think that Nikki Haley would probably do better. Although a lot of this might have been because a lot of these voters liked Trump. That might have been part of it. So it might go back to being a Democratic area after Trump isn't running, if he is to not run. But I think at this point it's still probably going to be likely or lean. I don't think it's going to be much different. It could probably, or not lean even, it'll probably be like 13-14%. Florida, it's a lot similar to Michigan. Joe Biden won like 49% of the vote. or not 49, it was like 48 and a half, whatever. Um, I think that Trump vote, I think that, looking at Florida, I think that Trump would actually probably do a little bit better than Nikki Haley. I still think that Nikki Haley were to win Florida if it was just Nikki Haley versus Kamala Harris. I think Nikki Haley would probably win it. I think that Trump might do a little bit better in Florida. But who knows? At the moment, I think that this would probably be like a likely state. It's also voted blue, like historic. I don't want to say historically, but it's voted blue before. It would not at all surprise me if it were to again, just because it's like a swing state. But if you look at this, I think Trump would probably win like 30% of the vote. To Kamala Harris, 30-35. To Kamala Harris is like 49. So it'll probably be like 12, 13, 15% victory for Kamala Harris. Now, the state of North Carolina, similar margins to that of Michigan. I think it'll be a lot like Michigan, except for it'll be a few states to the right, which I think might be enough to put it over and make it a likely state. I don't know, but it's definitely going to be pretty competitive. Now I'm going to go label a few states first off. I think Wyoming would probably be a safe state. I mean, like, Donald Trump won it by, 40%. If you look at that, he got, 70% of the vote? I think it was, 70 to 30% without third parties. I think that he would probably win, 50% of that. 50, maybe 40, but still definitely the majority. So for this, let's just go down the middle, assuming he wins 45%. Joe Biden wins 30%. That's almost likely. So I think that likely would probably work. But right now, I think that it's probably more of a safe state, regardless. Idaho, similar margins. Actually, I'm going to label likely. It was more like 30%, so Donald Trump probably won 65% of the vote to Joe Biden's, 35. So, 30% victory. I think that Donald Trump probably won, of that 65%, I think he got to win, 40, 45%, leaving it to be about 45% to, 35%. So I think I'll probably be more like a likely state. Montana, I'm not sure. Likely or lean. I'm trying to think. It's like a 57-ish, 58, 57% Republican state, or that's the percentage of the vote they get. If they won, if they're winning by 58 or 57%, I'll be nowhere close to labeling it lean. But that means that Democrats typically win 43% of the vote. And if that GOP vote is split, I would assume that Trump would win 30, 35, 40% of it, which means it would probably be around likely to lean. Probably a low likely or a high lean, similar to what New Hampshire, Minnesota would be today. Ohio, it's probably a likely or lean state. Donald Trump won 54% of the vote there. That GOP, or that conservative vote would probably split 40, 30, or 35% to 20 something percent, something around there. Maybe a little bit more for Trump, but still, Democrats still win by 17, 18%. So decently large margins, not crazy large, but large margins nonetheless. And we would see something similar to Montana and Kansas. Very similar in terms of how it voted. It actually voted to the left of Montana. I think Kansas would be similar, probably an 8 or more just 8% victory. For Kamala Harris. Nebraska, this is a bit tricky to predict. Nebraska was I think 20% for Biden. So, or 20, not for Biden, that would be crazy. Trump won 20% of the vote, so it would be 60-40. I think that Trump would probably win 40% of that vote, so it would be competitive. I think I'm going to label it tilt blue, though, just because I don't necessarily think that Trump would win 2/3 of that vote. I think he'll probably do a little worse, but it's going to be probably definitely competitive. Nebraska's first. It's a lot similar to Kansas and Montana. Not much explaining to do there. Similar margins. In these states, a lot of it is about the margins that it goes by. We could look at past primary results and the approval of candidates in these areas, but this is just based off of this map. I think it's probably going to be a lean state or a lean district. Nebraska's second safe, without a doubt. He went to Joe Biden by 6 something percent. His lead's just going to grow. Nebraska's third will probably vote for Donald Trump. It voted with him 52. He won by 52%, some crazy number. Definitely gonna be a safe area. Honestly, Nikki Haley might win Idaho. It would probably be a smaller margin though than if Trump did. but it's gonna be a conservative state nonetheless. I'm gonna label it likely. The Dakotas, these are also kind of weird. They were really competitive in 2008, but then they haven't been competitive since. They're like 33, 25% margins, I think it was. North Dakota, probably like what, Trump plus 15 or Trump plus 30 ish, like 65 to 35. I think that Trump will probably win like 40, 45% of that vote, so it'll probably be more like a likely. So actually, no, I think Nikki Haley will probably win it. Not by a lot. Actually, well, I don't know. It's either gonna be Trump or Haley. I can assure you that it'll be conservative by about 10%, something around there. South Dakota will probably be a lot similar, just by smaller margins. I don't really see anything changing there. Sorry, I just got a notification. Oklahoma, it's not. There's not much explaining to do here. Trump won by crazy large margins here. He won like every county in 2016. I'm not sure about 2020. I should go look at that in a minute. West Virginia, same thing. It used to be competitive. It's not going to be competitive again. Another state I'm going to go quickly get out of the way. Iowa, it's basically the same explanation as Ohio. Another state that's like that is probably Alaska. Might even be safe. Because it is shifting to the left. Actually, it'll probably be similar margins to what Iowa and Ohio were this year, or I guess last year, not since it's January. But I think Alaska will probably be a likely or safe state, something around there. Next state, Indiana. Barack Obama won here by 1%. This is a state that typically votes with like 16% with the GOP. So probably about 58% to 48%. That vote will probably be split. Trump will probably get 40% to, actually I'm going to label that likely. Trump will probably get like 40 to 35%, while Nikki Haley probably gets 25 to 30%. I think that Donald Trump doing better than Nikki Haley in the state is probably what would be expected. So I think it'll probably be more like a lean margin, like a 9-7-6-ish margin. Next up, the state of South Carolina. A lot similar. Actually, no, tighter than, I was going to say Kansas and Montana. No, it's tighter than those states. Surprisingly, a larger margin than Alaska. But South Carolina, Donald Trump won here by 11 point something percent. So that's like, what, 5.5, 55.5 to 45.5. I would assume that Trump would win 35% of that vote to 45, so it's probably going to be more like a likely or lean. Although this is Nikki Haley's home state, actually, I just remembered that. So I would bet on her doing better, so probably more like a likely state. Kentucky, this is kind of hard. I'd probably assume that it would be Nikki Haley state by like, I don't even want to say likely margins, or it would be a lot like North Dakota actually. Maybe like it would vote with the conservatives, and it votes with similar margins to North Dakota. So a lot like North Dakota in the state of Kentucky. Obviously, like geographically not the same, but I mean just how it votes. Next state, Utah. This one's hard to work on. They almost elected like a third party in 2016. I say elected. They almost voted for it. He got like 25% of the vote. I think it's probably like tilt blue, or actually probably more like lean blue. It's gonna be a little bit of a larger margin for or Republicans are gonna do a little bit better in Utah than they did in like Montana and Kansas. It's gonna be like more like a 60-40 kind of situation. I think that Trump will probably win like 40-45% of that vote. Actually, well, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be close. And if Democrats do win 40% of the vote, I'm actually gonna label that tilt because it all depends on how well Nikki Haley does. If she can do well in Utah, which I think is a possibility. I think that there is a possibility that she takes enough of that Trump vote for Democrats to win. If she can take like what Trump needs, if there's 60% of the vote, she would need to take like 25% of the vote, and it would be at the lean Democratic state. I think that's definitely likely. But I think that's still probably gonna be like a tilt blue state. Now over here we are in the South. I'm gonna label Missouri probably like a lean state. Actually, well, yeah, it votes a lot like Indiana, like Montana, like Kansas, similar to those margins. So it's gonna be similar to those. Not much explaining to do in the state of Missouri. Although Jason Kander almost won there in 2018, so we can see Democrats do really well there. Next up, the state of Arkansas. This is probably like a likely or lean. It's a pretty conservative state. I would be surprised if it didn't vote red. Even though it used to be a Democratic stronghold, I don't see it not voting red, even with all this. It would probably be more like North Dakota and like Kentucky. So not much explaining to do there. This one's gonna be difficult. To the Tennessee, it's a lot like Utah, except for it's a little bit farther to the left. It all depends on how well Nikki Haley does here. She also does have a bit of a regional advantage. So I feel like Trump doing better in Tennessee than he did in Utah. And then Nikki Haley having a regional advantage, I think, kind of cancel each other out because the regional advantage is going to help Nikki Haley a tiny bit, and Trump only did a tiny bit better in Tennessee than he did in Utah. So I think that that's not really going to do much. Next up, these two states, these are difficult. Louisiana and Mississippi. I'm going to go quickly characterize Alabama. It's probably going to be like it's probably going to be like likely or lean. Well, I don't know. I would actually assume that it's tilt. If it has similar numbers to Tennessee, it also has a really high black population, which favors the Democrats heavily. If Kamala Harris could raise turnout, then that would obviously help her. I'm not sure. It's a little larger of a margin than Tennessee, so I think it would still be a very slightly Republican state, but I think it still could probably vote tilt blue. I don't know. Mississippi and Louisiana, these states are a lot like Missouri, a lot like Montana. They typically vote for Republicans like 17%. So let's round up and do 18%. That means that Republicans would get 59% as opposed to Democrats 41%. Let's just say 60%. Let's just and this is stretching for the Republicans, so we can subtract at the end. Or I say subtract. We can give the Democrats a little bit of an advantage in the end. But if it's 60-40, we've already seen 60-40. If Nikki Haley can win like 25% of that vote, and then they'll probably win there. And then, like I said, also we were stretching it for the Republicans. I'm going to say that Mississippi and also Louisiana, they're both similar margins. They're going to be on the line between being like lean and tilt. They're going to be like how Pennsylvania was this election. So they're going to be close, but it's not going to be like, it's going to be close as to whether or not they're going to be lean or tilt. They could vote red, but I don't bet on it. Like I said, guys, this map is without having looked at like Nikki Haley's approval in Idaho. Like I couldn't tell you how approved of she was in Idaho. I assume that she's pretty approved of, but I'm not certain. So I'm just basing this off of assumptions, which a lot of politics is, or a lot of this is assumptions. But most of this is purely based off of me assuming how well candidates would do. And this is why, honestly, if Trump were to run as a third party, it would be awful for Republicans or someone from this party. I think that Ted Cruz might be able to do a little bit better. Like he might be able to win Utah, might be able to win Tennessee. Actually, Ted Cruz also probably isn't going to bring out that base. He's probably more exciting than Mike Pence, but he's still not like a crazy exciting candidate. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for my next video, whenever that will be. And I will see you guys there. Bye!